Hey guys, welcome to J Plays, and I have something very unique for this channel for a change. Normally it's me doing reviews or doing playthroughs of games. This video is one of my more practical kind of ones. So as you see here, we have Nanatama, Chronicle of Dungeon Maker, which is known as Dungeon Maker 3, essentially. This game was only released in Japan, and is the only game in the Dungeon Maker series that did not receive an English release. So I'm going to take you through a quick guide of some basics of how it looks in its current form, like in the released form, and then of a translation project that I've been working on. And by the way, I've never done translation stuff in my life. So anyway, I'll get into the details of that shortly. So have a look. We have a whole bunch of the titles in Japanese. We have the first starting crawl stuff in Japanese. I have no idea what that's saying. Then that takes you into the first conversation of the game. And here we have the player's name entry screen. So here you see it in its natural form the way it is in the original release. You can switch between, I think it's katakana, hira, something. And it's supposed to be, this one here is supposed to be English numbers. So a lot of this is actually very similar to the player name entry screen that's in the existing two previous games, especially the second one. The second one looked almost identical to this, except you couldn't change between the different text types here. Anyway, if we enter this whatever, that takes us back into the conversation where the name is actually used in the conversation in small bits. And if you don't mind, I'm just going to quickly go past a lot of this quickly. Because, I mean, personally, I can't read it. Not in my native language of English. But in either case, you have the first initial starting conversation. But without the knowledge of the language, it's all just, you know, stuff we can't read. We get a few pop-ups, not knowing what they are, like what their contents are. We're taken into town, given an information screen that we can't read, unless you can read Japanese. Now, if you look at this knowing how the previous two games worked, they always had you in a town sequence where you could move between the different stores, and then after you talk to the various people, you go into the dungeon. But here's how it looks in the Japanese original release. Here's the menu system that you have. Lots of things we can't read. Just from this, I could tell you, I knew exactly what this was even without being able to read it. This is like a basic item screen. Well, that's at least what it looks like. Because the original releases had an item bag. This to me looks like some kind of equipment screen to, you know, change what you're currently using. So that sound from the sound effects, that sounds like taking off a piece of equipment, putting it back on. Now this one, who knows what this is? Just a lot of things with some numbers and with things we don't know. Now this looks like a player stat screen of some kind. With a whole bunch of things we can go into. We have this. It's like, what is this? What are these screens? What is this content? What is it trying to say? So many mysteries. That without the knowledge of the, you know, the language that it is presented within, makes it very difficult to use the interface. And lastly, oh yeah, and there's even more conversations in the town that happen that we can't read. There's quite a few of these. And this looks like it's a very long conversation that you're having with a character. And if you notice, I only know this from project I've been doing. Now we've got an extra place we can go up here. I'll go there in a sec. Anyway, so we got this last menu. It's like we got 4 menus of which it's like, what does these things do? Okay, well this looks like, oh, saving. Okay, so we have a save screen. We have a load screen. We have a delete screen. And some kind of password entry screen. And some kind of pop-up asking us something. But something about passwords. And passwords were not in the 2 previous games, so this is a new feature that is present in this game. Now, other than that, as we saw, there was an extra place up the top that we could go to. Also, take note of the names of the locations as we go around the town. Ooh, what have we here? More information boxes. Okay, so now things, if you've played the previous 2, I'll put the volume up a little bit. So if you've played the previous Dungeon Maker games, this might look a little bit more familiar. The usual combat kind of, well, when you go into the dungeons. And the map, if you look in the top, well, on the right side of the screen, you can see the... Actually, I'll put the volume down a little bit. Oh, and we got some combat. And as you can see, the game, even in the Japanese form, still does have English here and there. You know, like how it's saying information, new monster, those little text pop up. It does make me wonder if this game was originally intended to have a English release as well. All these things being said, we don't know what they're saying. Now, in the previous games, this would be what you would use to travel between the different floors. This would be like the elevator thing. But in the previous 2 games, there'd be like an E symbol. But looks like we can't use that. What is this? Who is this person? What are they? What are they saying? If I'm to take a total guess, having played the previous game, maybe it's a Genyu, which are these creatures that can transform into different forms. But I say this and I have no idea yet. And of note, I haven't translated that bit. I haven't translated up to this, anywhere near this far yet. So I don't even know. My guess is it might be a Genyu. Turn the volume up a little bit. Difficult when you don't know the audio levels for these recordings on Streamlabs. Anyway, so that's now usable. These areas we can't access as of this point in time. If you're wondering, I'll just go up there. And of note, I haven't seen almost no recordings of this game on YouTube at all. So, even this footage I'm showing you right now, this might be one of the few videos to actually pop up on the service. Now, I'm just a massive fan of the previous two games. I love Dungeon Maker. You know, I love the first game is really good. The second one just takes what was good about the first one and then just adds to it. So this I recognize, even in Japanese form. This normally would say something like, well, if this was in the previous two games, that would be saying return to town or something like that. And then here, and then whatever floors you've got takes you to the floor. I think you just select the... Oh, okay, I don't know what the LV, maybe it's like floor level. There's normally like rating and depth or something like that. Ooh. See, even that's in English. Yeah, that's Chronicles of Dungeon Maker. Whereas on the title they say Chronicle. Again, a lot of stuff I can't read. Oh, do I have room types? If I was playing an actual proper, if this was like an actual proper playthrough, I'd be doing something like this. Because an important thing in Dungeon Maker, and again, look at all these menus. What in the hell? Okay, that's like dungeon level or something. The thing is, without English, it's like so... I have no idea what that is saying. Oh, okay, we modified it into like a normal room. Okay, now that looks more like normal, like what I have seen in the previous games. Anyway, without English, it's like very difficult to use. That's generally the loop you go into in this game. You do that. You keep coming back to the dungeon. And bit by bit, things get better. Like you get better stuff appearing, start getting better loot. My guess is it was saying something like, do you wish to return back to town or something like that. And so here's the usual day and then evening loop that happens in the game. So you have the daytime hours where you can go around town, collect items, then go off to the ruins. Well, go off to the dungeon. And now that we've already been to the dungeon, it's going to say, it's something, you know, something like, you can't go to dungeon. But still, we've only got these places available. Oh, another conversation. Oh, who's this? That mystery person from the dungeon. I'm just spitting through this. I don't know what they're saying. Who's this guy? He looks like a pirate. So I want to show you how this looks in totally Japanese form before I show you my translation efforts. Now, before I show you that stuff though, I do warn that it is still very much work in progress. I've never done a ROM hack before. So I'm very new to all this stuff. There's things I have no idea how the hell you do that, even after watching videos, reading threads. It's just beyond me. Like, I don't know. I just want to focus on translation. I don't want to focus on the technical, you know? Even though The translation requires a little bit of technical, because you have to do hex editing to, or at least that's the way that I've done it. So she's saying something. Just gave us like $300 for something. Who knows what. Now we have an extra option available in town. This little house here. Now in the previous games, this would have been you going home to take a meal and then rest, start the next day, and then we start again. Also, normally you can access your storage box, which is what I'm guessing that is. I don't know what those things are saying. Okay, looks like I gave myself a meal. I don't know what of, but I gave myself a meal of something. And then... I think we've just rested for the day. And here is the screen you would normally see at the end of a day that would tell you all what was accomplished. Did you get any new quests? Did you complete a quest? Did something major in the game happen? And then you're given options to, like, you know, I think it's like save, keep going, quit, or something like that. Okay, so that is how it looks in Japanese form. Now let me... Now we're jumping more into my translation here. Now I warn you, not everything is translated. This thing will take me probably years to do everything. Now, obviously, the title, when you go into the game... I'm going to turn the volume down a little bit, so just so I'm very clear in my narration. Anyways, so the title is still Japanese. It already was in English as far as press start button and the bottom text at the, down there. This bit I haven't translated yet. From what I've seen with what I've read is that it looks like these might be image files. So it's not like in-game text that I can actually edit. I'd have to actually find where the image is and then actually change the image to change that. But from what I know, this is start and that's continue. I don't have any save games. Now this still is in Japanese. Ooh, what's this? We have actual English. So, pointing out some things straight away from the bat. So in my research of the game, it's as far as English letters are concerned, they have every letter of the English alphabet in capital form. But once you go to lowercase letters, there's about 7 letters. Let me have a look what they are. Okay, so the letters B, J, L, Q, as in Q for quick, S, W, Y, and Z are all not implemented, like they're not in the game's code in lowercase form. So if I try and type a sentence, or enter a sentence or word that contains any of those letters in lowercase letters, it'll just appear on screen as like an upwards arrow, which I'm guessing means something like trying to access something that doesn't exist. Or it's like I don't know what I'm trying to, or I don't have implemented what you're trying to use. So that's one thing. The other is that the game uses a fixed, it's called a fixed width font. So it's like, and this is, and I'll be talking some technical in this video. So it's like for every letter it uses like 4 hexadecimal numbers in order to display it. So from what I've read on the forums, what you need to do is implement what's called a, and this is what would help me big time, is what's called a half fixed width. So that rather than needing 4 numbers, you just do 2, and that's all you'd have to do. But oh god, that is so beyond me. It's like, so I just say, if someone else wants to chip in and help, they're welcome to do that, and then I will happily do the things in the game all, you know, taking up one tile rather than 2. The other one is the, as I said, the missing letters. So I don't know, I've tried everything and I couldn't get the game to work with other letter types. So that takes us into, so as you can see, now there's actual conversation that we can see the text. Now this looks like normal, but the lower stuff down the bottom, you see now that's been translated to English. So now we know if we press the select button, we swap between Hira, Kata, and English. Oh, what's this? Now the player name entry screen, it still has the letters that were up the top. But now we have the option of selection of the lowercase letters that the game supports. So now on this screen, you can make a name, like my favorite is either Alucard or Ark. So I can do that if I want, because those are within the supported letters of the game. But unfortunately, I can't do the letters other than, like, I can't do the B, can't do the J, can't do the L. There's nothing I can do about it. So again, if someone wants to chip in and help and add support for those in, by all means, I mean, I would greatly appreciate it. Because if I had that plus half fixed width for the text, it would make a massive difference. But anyways, I'm saying this, and I'm not expecting people to help. I'm just saying it. You know, it's just more like if you want to chip in, chip in. But in either case, I'm committed to doing this project. It may take a very long time though, because there is a hell of a lot of text. And the thing is that when you're working with hex editing, you're working with fixed widths for everything. So if in the original game the Japanese sentence took up 10 letters, then you only have 10 letters available. So you've got to come up with some kind of English equivalent that equals those 10 letters in that example. So I've been doing a lot of that. So the conversation that follows after this took me something like about 3 days, I think. Just having to get all this. So now we can actually know what she's saying. Wow. Maybe you are a dungeon maker. Wow, I heard the dungeon maker was coming. Lures monsters, I'm so envious. And by the way, know with these things, because of the fixed widths, I had to cut down a lot of sentences. So unfortunately, it takes out a lot of the extra little nuance in the sentences, little extra words and things because I know if you can only fit in the minimum, then you just have to put in what the absolute main thing of what they're trying to say. Anyway, Lures monsters, I'm so envious. It's good to have you here. Don't go, we must talk work. The R lab, and by the way, that's because I couldn't fit in the research lab, because it took up too many letters. The R lab is running a study of the Northern Forest. In the Crete ruins, because if you remember when we went to the dungeon before, it was called as we entered it, it said Crete ruins. In the Crete ruins, monsters have taken up residence. So Ark, we seek adventurers. Ark, lend us aid. We need you to study these monsters. Rare monsters have better items, so do try. Now some of these I had to try and do my best equivalent of like fitting within the letters, so the grammar may not be perfect, but it's like when you've only got so much space, not every sentence can be perfect. So Ark, you will create a dungeon and lure monsters to it. Wow, see those monsters, lucky you. Their numbers rise, which is not good. I will give you some things. Research file. Any monsters you face are stored here. Got the research file. Now we know what those little pop-ups are. And here is your permit. Permit grades affect the ruin depth that is permitted. As you lack experience, only the lowest permit can be issued. It grants entry to first floor. Again, grammar is because of the width. By registering monsters, your grade will go up, so don't worry much. And as I said, because I only have access to so many of the lowercase letters, everything has to be all capitals, unfortunately. But if I ever get any help from anyone else implementing the full lowercase character set, I will change all of these to using lowercase. Right, go and see the ruins. We can talk more after that. Oh, that's right. Build a dungeon, speak to the owner. of the build shop, Frederick. Be glad to meet you. Stop by before you go. Well, good luck. And that takes us into town, and now we have an information screen where we can actually read the text. Tips. Town. In town, move cursor where you want to visit. Direction keys, move. Okay. So, now we're in town. Oh wow, so now we can actually read the locations of the places we go to. So, if you look in the top right corner, it actually says lab, because I'm now standing over the lab. In the bottom right hand corner, it indicates the location's full name. So research lab. Oh, now it's M. Now, some of these, by the way, again, with the top right stuff, is because I only have very fixed dimensions, like very fixed widths, that I can do letters. So a lot of these only had like 2 or 3 letters max that I could do. So a lot of the time you're going to be seeing abbreviations of stuff, because there's just no choice. I have to put it within a certain amount of space. Anyway, MK, market, BLD, build shop. Now, for a lot of the things in the game, I did reference what they were named in the previous game, or previous 2 games. So Dungeon Maker 1 and 2, they called the place where you get building supplies as the build shop, and they always did it with a dot between the D and the S. So build.shop. Market is where you get food ingredients. This is a new one in this game. Psychic. So a person who gives like tarot readings and stuff. SMI for smithy. So smithy is like blacksmith. That one I had to go with that because of the amount of letters. And CM, chemist. So I think in the other games they called it, the other 2 they called it alchemist. But the only thing is, I only had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I only had 6 letters that available. Alchemist is a lot more than 6 letters. So in either case, so now we can actually walk around town and we can actually see the names of every place we're visiting. And the button prompts, if you see them down the bottom, again, I've had to go abbreviations from time to time. So if you see the flashing cursor thing, I think that in the translation of it was selection, the word selection. But you can't fit the word selection within 2 letters. So, you know, MV for move. We have square button that you can do for menu, and circle for go, as in like go into. Wow, look at this. Okay, now we have a menu that we can actually read. And it has little text pop up, like text explanation saying what they're all able to do. So now we know that here we have magic. So we can check our magic spells, which if we go into that, wow. Now again, abbreviations. So this is why that's why the lettering is like that. In either case, now there are some issues here with this. You see how the letters sort of, they don't word wrap. They just flow into the next one. I don't know how to fix that. There's no at least in the game's code that I found, there was nothing for like jumping to a new line that I could find. So hence why it's like this. I did say this is like a beta, a work in progress. Alright, so yeah, so we can, in here anyways, we can check the various spells that are available. Yeah, now we can see where we're going. So it is, I was right. So it is bag, like checking, and it says, as it says down the bottom right hand corner, check the item bag. Here we have EQ for equipment, so equip item. And here we have FD for check food ingredients. Well, check FD ingredients, but it stands for check food ingredients. Again, just because they're restrictions. Now, oh wow, information pop up that we can read, telling us exactly what we do within the item bag. And so now we can actually go around in the item screen and actually read the items that are in there. Now obviously I'm limited by what's currently translated, so I've currently translated the first 2 items you see. As I encounter more in the game, I'm going to translate them so that when you get them in your inventory, there'll be the descriptions on the right. Again, I'm working with fixed widths, so there is of course going to be abbreviations. From this screen, we can arrange the inventory if we want. We can even dismiss items if we want to. Or we can go back if we want. And we can actually scroll through the pages. From the equipment screen, here is where you equip your items. So now there's actual descriptions. Select short sword. With this I went with naming, I looked back to very old school RPGs. There was a game on this Sega Master System called Fantasy Star. And I remember that named thing, because that game worked with fixed widths for all its item names and stuff. So I just looked at how that game did things, and it did it just like short sword, like sht.swd. So hence why you've got it looking like this. But the names are there, and the translations are there. Now the little bits on the left are image files, again, so I can't change those from the game code. I'd actually have to go in and find where the images are. Again, I've got no experience in that, so I'm not really interested in that right now. I just want to translate the text. But all the screens in here have been translated. Again, here's a tip box that we can read. So now we know this is, because before it was like, what is this screen? What are these items? I have no idea what this is. Now we know it's food-related ingredients used in cooking. Which if we look up the rulebook, ooh, what is this? Yeah, the bit at the top I haven't translated yet. But basics is there. Now, next one is a work in progress. I've still got heaps to do in here. So I'm currently on the stat screen. This is what I'm currently focused on translating at the moment. So we've got the bottom prompts saying rulebook, but if we go to it, it's totally in Japanese. But some of the stuff here is translated. If we go over to magic spells, and by the way, all the headings are image files again. So again, I can't do those without doing a translation. I mean, I'd have to change the images themselves. But the names, at least, of these are done. Everything else you see that needs to be translated. So that's where I'm currently at with those things. In here, I haven't translated anything yet. So I still don't know what this is. I'm guessing that's like equipment. I don't know what that is. Or that. Or these. No idea. But I will discover that in time. Now, oh look! The data menu is now fully translated. Everything. So, if we go to save our game, which I'm not going to do just yet, but that's looking good. And here we have a password entry screen. Ah, I haven't done that one. Okay. There's one I've missed. But if we say we want to go back, cancel and return to menu. So yeah, anyways, just from that, the game is now, all of a sudden, far more user-friendly than it was before. Now, could you actually play the game yet properly and know what the hell you're doing? Hell no. Like, for example, like I haven't done any of the conversations other than that first one. So here we have, like, the first conversation with the blacksmith in the town. It's like, what are people even saying? I have no idea. I'm guessing this is about buying equipment, you know, buying weapons. It's saying, do you want to buy this? Or, you know. Which, by the way, now that I've bought that, I have tested these things. Now, oh wow, look at this. And you actually, even though it's in Japanese, I know this from the tip translation thing I did. So now I know you can actually have a secondary weapon here that you can change between in combat. And the other games had this too. So you would often put a bow or something as the secondary weapon. But you can also have secondary equipment that you can have. This game has a lot of additional features that were not in the previous two. So it's going to be very interesting to discover what those are as I continue to translate this thing. Anyway, so we know that going into the dungeon happens, I mean, you can gain access to it after talking to this person. I have no idea what I'm not sure if that's a male or female character. I don't know what they're saying, what the hell, but all I know is after you do that, you gain access to the ruins, which, by the way, that is translated to the exit. So it's just exit, town exit. I do still need to translate that and this. As you see, all these... There is just so much to translate in this game. And it takes so long. Like, even doing that initial conversation that you saw, like, when we went in the menu, took me something like 3 days of just sitting at my computer trying to work out what to translate them to. Even when you know, like, even the easier stuff can take quite a while to do. But, since we've translated a few screens though, now some of even the dungeon stuff is translated. So now we can actually go in here, I don't know what that says, but we can actually go in here and use spells knowing what they are now. So now we know, I've selected this, even though the menu things down the bottom haven't been. But if I know that previously circle was go. Wow, what is this? I have used a spell. These bits are still, you know. Ooh, actually got some cooking stuff this time. In all my tests, like I've done with this game, that's the first time. And funny, I get it on recording. That's the first time I actually got a cooking item from one of those things. Curious. Okay. Different item. Ooh. So, my main aim, at least for now, I want to get this game to a point where it puts this game into a playable state. Just so that you can get it to the point where you could actually go to the dungeon and go around. And I want to have at least the initial conversations that you have in the town with the people. To the point where you go to the dungeon and you can move around and then have this all in English. All of it. And be able to interact with the system. That's the intention behind this thing. As I said, I'm a huge fan of the previous two games. I just want that experience. I want to be able to go in and play this thing. Because I know that this game is niche. Like, it appeals very much to people who are into games development. Now, you might go, what the hell? What's this game got to do with games development? Well, more in the game design kind of standpoint. Because a lot of the mechanics in this game, which let me get to it first. We know this from before. This is what might be a Genyu. I don't know. Genyus are like, if you're not familiar with that term, they are like a familiar, like, not like Pokemon. It's, I don't know what to refer it as, because they're shape changing. You can you can change them into whatever form you want, and then, you know, that levels up independently to the player. Which, speaking of, by the way, that's another big change with this game that I've found already in my translation stuff. So you see, there's my character name, but then it mentions levels up in the top left corner. So what I've translated is that it's a shame I can't translate those little things, because in this game you have character skills. So that's like goes through like sword, long sword, dagger, staff, club, and axe. And then you have certain abilities that you can use, all based on those factors. Now, how you go around using those things individually... Oh, actually, I just figured it out. I was going to say I don't know, but I just figured it out in my head. I guess it's based on the weapon that you're carrying, then you can use those abilities. I'm guessing when you get, after you get the Genyu or whatever that is, I'm guessing the game says to you now, if you want, you can go to the dungeon. Anyway, so here's where the games devy side comes into it. Large factor in Dungeon Maker is the design, like designing levels. Because basically, the better the design, the better the monsters that you attract. Better, and then then the more of them, the better the loot, the more the money you get. What does that mean? Ah, okay. Even though it's in Japanese, based on my experiences from the other games, I kind of know what I'm doing. It's like I'm remembering the steps, even though it's in Japanese. So here's the same thing anyway, in a slightly more Englishy version now. I'm saying that, and many of these menus and whatever's just aren't translated yet. Give me time, I will do it. But if you can see on the screen, just little things all over the place now are in English. Because I found that as I translate screens, a lot of the elements are then reused on other screens. So just from me having, if you saw when I had this up, see how there's the thing rulebook in the bottom left? So that would have been all in Japanese before. But because I translated that word in order to get rulebook, the naming functionality done for the item screen, now it's universal across all screens that you see that in English. So you just give me time, and as I go through and do more of this thing, it's gonna get slightly... It's like fixing a jigsaw puzzle. I don't know. It's like as you do pieces, little bits here and there over time, start changing, being made more English. But I just wanted to show the basic state of things. So there is a hell of a long way to go with this thing. Even if I don't get any help, and even if we just keep everything in capitals with fixed widths and whatever, that's all good. I got no problem with that at all. It's just more I'm just saying it. If someone comes along and they're like, I've done heaps of translation projects before, I know how to do that, then I'm like, oh, cool. Even if you just give me half-fixed widths and the access to the whole lowercase alphabet, fantastic. Like, that would change things exponentially. There's a lot of sentences that I would now be able to do in the game in their full entirety. In either case, anyway, I'm going to shut up about that. So, again, here is our night screen, well, our evening screen, but it just with English. Or at least more English, anyway. Now, we still got things like this mystery conversation that happens, what might be the Genyu showing up, someone who looks like a pirate appearing. But I just want to show the difference in the sequence, in its original form and then how it is currently. Now, I've popped in, let me see. I started working on this around the start of the month. So this has been I've been working on this for about 3-4 weeks, I think. The hardest thing for me originally was getting the text to translate. But then I read a forum post up on romhacking.net, whatever it is. And then that gave me the tip I needed, that I had to use Roman letters. Or at least hexadecimal letters that take up 4 digits, like 4 number digits. That's what That was the big thing that made the big difference. And then once I started changing letters, and once I had the tools also to be able to search for Japanese words, that's the big game changer. Once I had that, then I could translate stuff. And then the slow process of translation began. I still have no idea what she's saying there. I look forward to having these translated and actually knowing what the hell's being said. So, but my current efforts, I want to get... My first thing I'm working on right now is to get this screen fully translated. I want to get this so that I know what that is, saying all the different skills, like based on weapon that you have available to you. That's the first thing. The next one is in here. I want to know what is being said here. I can't wait. That'll be really cool. And then lastly will be... Yeah, that one will take 2 seconds. Get that translated just so it says what it's supposed to say. So that is where I am currently at. Other than that, it's like translating the stores and things. You know, so that when we go... to somewhere like here, that I can actually read what the menu says and see translations of all the items here. Okay. Anyway, the only other thing I've got now, it's not the most perfect name for it. Like, I know the proper word for it would be home, but I only have 3 letters available to me. And how do you say home in 3 letters? You'd have to be like HME or HOM, hom. So hut was like the only thing I could come up with. But other than that, if we go into the home itself, this is all still totally Japanese from the point that we saw it in before. So if we go in here, I think this is where we're going to make a veggie meal or something. And then if we go to bed, which I think is that one. And did you see how it said okay and no? That's like the little bits of the jigsaw that I was saying about before. Do the jigsaw and you gradually... Ah, and see, now we've got save and erase. I didn't realize that. I didn't realize those were done. So, what's that one? Oh, that was like continue. Oh, okay. Yeah, and then we can do another day and go back to the dungeon if we want and continue. Alright, so this was just my quick dev blog, whatever you want to call it, for my current work on this that I just wanted to showcase. I hope you've been interested in this. Now it's just the usual stuff that people put in their videos. If you do want to support this project, I do have a Patreon, which I'll put a link for in the description for this video, as I do for all my other ones. You know, this is just something that I plan to work on in my own spare time until I get this done. Now, who knows how long it will take to do, but I have got a feeling it's just going to take me years to do. If you'd like to offer any assistance on this project, feel free to leave a message, send me a private one, whatever. I don't know if you can send private messages on YouTube, or just add a comment or something like that. Other than that, but I hope you've been, I hope this video has interested you of what's been going on. As I said, I just wanted to showcase what's been happening. This has just been a case of, I've been planning on showcasing the work I had done for a long time, but I just keep thinking of new things that I wanted to have done before I showed it. Like, originally, it was just to get the game to the point of showing that first conversation, and then having this menu with just those things translated. Not that one, but, you know, the basic ones we had. Then it became a case of, I want to showcase that you can walk around town and see the tips highlight in the top right. Then it became I want to translate what's in all the screens. I want the item one. Ooh, what's that one? Ooh, oh, that's like a fang. Okay. Oh, building parts. Okay. Yeah, so, you know... Yeah, then it became a case of I want to do the data screen. Did that. So anyways, so that's about it for now. Yeah, so feel free to keep watching my videos on this subject, because I will release more over time as I complete more work on this project. Alright guys, have a good one.